The foot of the southern Blue Ridge, near the town of Walhalla off Highway 28, is a focal point of natural beauty and local history, almost unmatched anywhere in the Palmetto State. From the ample parking lot, we begin our hike, first to Issaqueena Falls. The small Cane Creek meanders close by as it winds its way to the 200-foot drop on the falls. Nestled nearby in the branches of a laurel tree are the spindly webs of an appropriately named labyrinth spider. A highly prized sourwood honey tree is also nearby. Over the small covered bridge, and we find a joe pie weed, which is perfectly placed next to the creek as it thrives in a damp location. Hartsabuston is also close by. The fruits, which start in summer as green, warty capsules, turn brilliant scarlet red and split, revealing red seeds hanging underneath. A granddaddy longlegs is carefully picking his way through the leaves. On down the trail we go, passing a tulip poplar with a butterfly flitting about. Notice the leaves showing perforations, likely from a hungry caterpillar. But that's not the only hungry insect, as these ants and aphids are making a meal. But a lizard lurks among the leaves. Perhaps he'll have lunch at the bug buffet. Be sure to pause along the way for some spectacular views of Walhalla and the unfolding vista below. Perhaps you'll get lucky like we did and spy some ripening blackberries, surely a big hit with foraging wildlife. Before we reach the overview, we pass the gnarled roots of a scarlet oak. The tree grasps a rock at its base, blissfully unaware of its precarious perch. After a short walk down the trail, we arrive at the observation deck, and now see one of the jewels of the property, Issaqueena Falls. The beautiful cascade is said to be named for a Creek Indian maiden. She is thought to have ridden to a nearby fort to warn of a pending attack, and then escaped by pretending to leap over the falls, but actually hiding beneath them. A hickory tree just over the railing has a telltale sign of freeze damage. These hickory trees bloom late in the season and reflect an unexpected late freeze this year. There is also a basket oak located just down the slope, named because baskets were woven from strips obtained by splitting the wood. We make our way now to the bottom of the falls. It is something of a strenuous trek with few handholds and steep terrain. But the view, oh, it is worth the climb down. We spot blooming rhododendron on the way down, and from the bottom we have Issaqueena in all her resplendent glory. Take a moment and gather in that roar of the falls. There is abundant greenery tucked into crannies among the rocks. While we don't recommend climbing the rocks to get a closer look, we're told there are species such as cowbane, so named because it's especially poisonous to cattle, although a cow might have a bit of trouble reaching these. We could spend the day on these rocks in the cool spray, but there are more sights to see. It's a bit of a lengthy, steep hike from the parking lot to the tunnel, so you might consider taking your vehicle. However you arrive, there is no mistaking the 25-foot high, 17-foot wide tunnel that was designed to make way for a locomotive. Stumphouse Tunnel is part of an 1850s attempt to link the port of Charleston to the cities of the Midwest by rail. The Civil War brought the construction to an end. The South Carolina chapter of the Nature Conservancy is working to purchase a 511-acre private tract on Stumphouse Mountain. The Department of Natural Resources, along with other public and private institutions, are helping in this effort.
The stewardship of the private families that have lived here and been such good stewards of this land, as well as the city of Walhalla, which has owned roughly a 440-acre historic watershed upstream of here and adjacent and connected to this project, really is the culmination of these things coming together to make not only a regional but a statewide and almost national importance and opportunity for a huge conservation park, not only from a historic standpoint but from a natural resources standpoint.
Before entering the tunnel, make note of a small inconspicuous green plant. It isn't flowering just yet, but when it does, you might recognize it as a Mayflower. Yes, the same kind you know from the Pilgrims. Step into the tunnel and you immediately detect a drop in temperature, a very welcome treat on this muggy summer day. The tunnel temperature stays around 50 degrees and the humidity at about 85% year-round. That's why Clemson University decided to temporarily store and age blue cheese in there back in the 1950s. While in the tunnel, make sure to note the pickaxe marks along the walls. These can still be found, although the bulk of the tunnel was constructed by blasting with black powder. At the midway point, a 16 by 20 foot air shaft extends upward 60 feet to the mountaintop. According to Clemson, cold air moving out of the mouth of the tunnel pulls warm air down the shaft. The moisture in this warm air is condensed by the cold air and produces a constant wetness in the tunnel and rain in the air shaft. We don't venture much past the air shaft on this trip as we draw to the end of our day, but we'll be back to these historical and natural wonders known as Stumphouse Mountain and Issaqueena Falls.